1609, King James begins the Hampton Court Council, and they decided what was going to go into the King James Bible and come out. He immediately believed that it was the witchcraft of Scottish witches. He would later publish a book that was called Demonology, and that led to the North Berwick witch trials.
The County Commission. Loyal colonists of King Charles I of England formed a new colony under the 1635 Royal Charter. Its name was Heights of King James County. This was the second colony established during the British colonization of the Americas in the New England region. The intended purpose of the Massachusetts Bay Company was to transfer wealth and goods back to English stockholders and the Regency and avoid political religious venture, as happened in Massachusetts.
With any great venture, especially with what the Massachusetts Bay Company was trying to do, there's greed and there's ambition. This was the first steps in beating the rest of Europe to colonization of the New World by establishing an English foothold. And what better way to do it were to send what was known at the time as separatists, those who had said no to the Church of England and no to the Holy Catholic Church in Rome.
In 1635, the Great General Court, under the New England Confederation, ratified the town charter after the pattern of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, chartered in 1630. The new settlement was submitted to the county governor, deputy governor, and magistrate. These men and 3 Puritan reverends were known as the County Commission. The commission intended to allow a slow but steady influx of Irish, Scottish, and Dutch immigrants to help the fledgling village. However, the commission was strict Anglican and Puritans who escaped the church government in England. They handpicked 20 Calvinist families to oversee the Heights in leadership and religion. The choice of well-off Puritan families inspired a Puritanism worldview. Birthdays and holidays were considered pagan rituals. The Bible was the only textbook found. The only music played was Sunday hymns.
So regarding the atmosphere, the religious atmosphere in the early 1600s, leading to the New England Confederation through the Massachusetts Bay Colony, what we find is between, circa 1605, 1609, King James begins the Hampton Court Council, in which we would have what we know today as the King James Bible. This was a move by the Church of England and King James himself to establish themselves as the leading denomination in Europe. At this council, there were representatives not only from the Church of England, but Puritans as well. And they decided what was going to go into the King James Bible and come out of the King James Bible.
Puritan and Reformists. Of course, this type of stranglehold and legalism led to the opening of the Second House of Worship on January 16, 1647. Founded by Reverend Thomas Parson, they called themselves Reformists. Theirs was a looser gospel, allowing the consumption of alcohol in moderation and the celebration of Easter, Christmas, and community fellowship that involved music other than hymns. These Reformists comprised the Irish, Scots, and Dutch. At the town hall meetings, the Calvinist speaker was Reverend Abraham Applegate, and the Reformists, Reverend Parson. They debated apologetics with an audience on the first Sunday of each month at a newly constructed community hall on Mill Pond Road near the South Bridge. Unfortunately, the gatherings often ended in baseless accusations and infuriation between the feuding congregations. Each accused the other of heresy. Eventually, Anglican and Calvinist inquisitors were ordained to seek out the use of witchcraft and sorcery in Parsons' congregation.
January 16th of 1647, a reformist church opens. Enter Thomas Parsons. What began to happen in the years that followed had everything to do with what King James himself had experienced in the latter half of the 1500s into the 1600s, leading to the foundation of these colonies, especially with the Scottish beliefs and Gaelic beliefs, Celtic beliefs that were being brought to a Puritanistic worldview. What a lot of people don't know is King James was a homosexual, knowing that it was wrong in the eyes of the church, and knowing that he needed to procreate. He married at the time 14-year-old Anne of Denmark to produce his heirs. On his way back from Scotland, his voyage was beset by a storm. He immediately believed that it was the witchcraft of Scottish witches that renounced his marrying of a Denmark princess that put a curse on this voyage. He would later publish a book that was called Demonology, and that led to the North Berwick witch trials, thus beginning the witch trial craze in England that would spill over into heights of King James County. I think what's sad, especially regarding this colony, is that the legalistic mindset versus the political mindset versus a need to be able to worship freely was influenced by a coven whose desire was to make this new town, this new settlement in this county, a haven for witchery and sorcery and the like.
Next on A History, Heights of King James County.
Violence escalates. In late April 1654, the feud reached its boiling point.
So when you have separatists that become legalists, and then you have reformists that become separatists, all coming from a culture where religious strife and warfare raged throughout Europe for 2 centuries, violence is inevitable, and eventually people will die.